listening to the We Are Worship USA podcast.
I love it when it's that organic family. Everyone's bringing something.
I just at one point made a decision that the kind of worship leader I want to be is one that doesn't really separate the stage and the private times with the Lord.
To see Jesus Christ, and we're going to worship Him, and that's what this whole thing is all about. It's just about Him.
Hey friends, welcome to the We Are Worship podcast. I'm Wisdom, and I'm here with Morgan.
What up?
Hey, Morgan.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great.
So today we have an interview with a couple of guys from River Valley Worship. And every time I try to say that, I feel like it's like a tongue twister.
Yeah.
River Valley Worship. RVW is what we'll call it. We have just a great conversation about developing a worship culture and just even a songwriting culture, and how the involvement from the senior pastor or the lead pastor is so crucial to your worship culture in your church. So, I think it's a conversation that that'll be really good for even senior pastors to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also have a couple of free songs, don't we, Wisdom?
Yeah.
So we got I Got Saved from Corey Voss, which is the free song. It's available for the rest of this week up until next Tuesday, so be sure to snag it up. And
when did that happen?
When did it happen?
When did you get saved?
Yesterday at church.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thanks. So I got saved, and then Wisdom got saved. No, I'm just kidding. We have a free hymn of the month, which is Once for All by Paul Balash. So you have that to you for the entire month. So you should go download it on WeAreWorship.com.
You know what I love about these two songs is you can actually make a full sentence out of these two.
I got saved once for all.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Also, can you tell us a little bit about the vlogs that you recently started?
Yeah, so we started doing vlogs, and basically what a vlog is it's like capturing your life and putting it on video and for the people to see. So we decided to do that because we have such interesting lives here at We Are Worship. But in all seriousness, we just wanted to share with you some behind the scenes of what goes on and fill you in on what we have in the works and give you kind of more of an exclusive look to the things that we do. So like these resources that we create, we wanted to give you guys the behind the scenes on how we create those and with the artist and all that good stuff. So you should definitely check it out on our YouTube channel, We Are Worship TV.
Awesome. Well, here is the interview for this week. Today I am here with Ryan Williams and Clinton Allen from River Valley Worship. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
You guys have like movie star names, I gotta say.
Okay, let's stop with the name. Start talking about your name, Wisdom Moon.
Yeah, Wisdom Moon.
Batman versus Superman versus Wisdom Moon.
Well, are these like real names? You guys
Absolutely.
are giving us okay. Just want to make
sure. Like I told you, Wisdom. I have, depending on how you look at it, 2 first names and 2 last names. So either way, you can't trust me. You know, like, you never trust anybody with 2 first names.
So we have a little test to find out if we can trust you. Let's call it the rapid fire round.
Rapid fire.
So I think what we'll do, since there's two of you, I'll ask the question, and then maybe Ryan, you answer first, and then Clinton, you can answer next.
Okay,
but you got to do like really fast.
Okay.
Within half a second, you got to answer. You know. So, all right, here we go. Android or iPhone?
iPhone. Praise God.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Fall.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Chinese.
How many songs in your ideal set list?
6.
4.5. That's the weirdest answer. 4 and a tag. You worship folk will get that.
Yeah. Favorite vacation spot?
Walt Disney World.
He's a Disney freak. He really is.
It's like the biggest, nerdiest thing about me.
But Walt Disney is brilliant, so we don't give him a hard time.
Yeah.
He's a pioneer. Oh, man. Favorite. Oh, gosh. Just trying to kiss up to Nashville folk. Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee. Oh, man. This is not rapid fire at all.
You're really slowing
I know, right?
now.
Really, this is not rapid at all. The Bahamas.
All right. Have you ever been there?
I've been there once.
Okay. I don't know if you were just throwing it.
Right. Just throwing it. Just
Fiji.
What's the first app you open in the morning?
YouVersion. It's true.
I was gonna say
It's true. It really is.
I
people.
was just about to say, it sounds super spiritual. It's YouVersion. I promise you, folks.
I've had a lot of people come on and say I should say the Bible app, but it's Instagram.
Free plug for shout out to Life Church in Craig Rochelle.
Yeah. All right. Favorite beverage?
Arnie Palmer.
Ginger beer.
Nice. Favorite instrument?
Piano.
He's a really good piano player, even though he plays a lot of guitar. Acoustic guitar, because that's the only one I'm competent at.
Cool. All right. That's the end of our round. I think we can trust you now. Except for the Bahama or YouVersion. I think that one, I don't know about. We'll have to check. Maybe like ask your wife or something.
Check that, absolutely.
So you guys are a part of River Valley Worship and obviously River Valley Church.
Yeah.
And you guys have 8 campuses. Is that right?
Yeah, 8 local locations in the Twin Cities and 1 international campus.
Cool. Yeah. The website said you're one church with multiple locations.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
The slogan, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was the one.
So who else is a part of River Valley Worship?
Well, because it's one church, multiple locations, it's really represented by all those worship leaders and worship pastors who are at those different campuses.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. We have some key musicians that carry the vision of River Valley Worship as well. And then we have songwriters as well who some of these songwriters who are very important to our church, very important to the team. You know, people never see their face. So it really is truly a collective. It's collaborative.
Yeah.
It's a big team with a lot of talented, anointed people who again, are church first.
I think a lot of churches, they try to do the music thing, you know, outside of like their local expression. And I think, you know, something that I've kind of noticed is it's so important that they have the blessing of the senior pastor, you know, and the culture has to come from the top. Yeah. So I'm curious to find out, like, what is your worship culture at church?
Yeah, so I've been at the church for 11 years, and it was about year 6 where some transition was happening on the team, and our lead pastor, Pastor Rob Ketterling, gave me the opportunity to take over the worship ministry, and it was a huge honor, and I was on the young side, so there was some risk involved. But from day one, he said, there's an anointing on our church. I want us to write music and record albums. And so it came right from his heart from the get-go. Yeah. And that's been a key part of our success and our momentum throughout the years is that he's the biggest advocate of it, more than anyone else in the church. And he keeps pushing us forward. It's never been about, you know, these musicians having a little pet project on the side and we'll tolerate you guys doing this. When you guys want to come out, you know, from your little huddle and show us these songs and we're not really interested, and then, you know, we move on with our lives. It's not like that. You know, the worship culture of our church, the number one value of our church is the presence of God. And River Valley Worship and all the great volunteers and staff that carry that at all the locations, you know, it's our responsibility to carry that value. And so we're very blessed to have that type of culture at our church.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, what does your typical worship service look like?
Yeah, a typical weekend.
Do you do 4.5 songs or 4 in a tag or
whatever wisdom, whatever time allows us, whatever the Spirit says, we flow in that. I'm being facetious, but there's an element of truth to that. But yeah, I mean, I think I hail from the Bible Belt. I'm from Dallas, Texas originally, and my wife and I we're transplants to the Twin Cities, to Minneapolis. We've been there for 6 years, and just really honored to be a part of that house and getting to run alongside this guy and push the culture forward. And I think I was used to it kind of like being the Wild Wild West, in the South church services, but going to a more liturgical region like Minneapolis, where there's a huge Lutheran and Catholic roots there. It was way more rigid. At least I thought it was rigid, but it was way more structured than I thought. And I had to learn to almost kind of relearn to work within the parameters of that. Yeah. And then just, it was not to sound super spiritual, but it was almost this epiphany of God showing me one day that those aren't necessarily boundaries or parameters. It's just, you have to be more creative. And so this is a long answer to your question. If our services look like any other services across maybe Western civilization church, there's the worship and there's a message, and we throw in like housekeeping stuff like announcements and upcoming events and whatnot, but we'll start off, I like to say, with a bang, with maybe 3 to 5 songs, however time allows for you and your structure. And then we'll go into our communicators doing house things, and then we get to the message, which may sometimes come from a local campus pastor. Most weeks it comes from our lead pastor, Rob Kettling, through video message. So that's what a typical service looks like.
Yeah. And you guys are both worship pastors full-time on staff. Yeah. But, I mean, basically, you guys lead worship on Sundays, and during the week, you just play guitar and write songs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's typically how
shop for clothes.
Okay, it's funny, Wisdom, because like my
very big clothing budget.
My dad, who is my parents, I'm very blessed to be came from a house of believers. But my dad, for the longest time, when I was pursuing this career, this vocation, was like, "Oh, cool, you're going to become a worship pastor. What are you going to do Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday?" Though? So even my own dad didn't really kind of get that concept of like, well, during the week we pastor people, we take meetings, as Ryan alluded to before. Yeah, we started like we believe that we are better worship leaders and better worship pastors because of the relational equity we have with our people because of what we do off the platform. Yeah. So yeah, we try to work Monday through Friday. Yeah.
It's an honor to visit people in the hospital. Yeah. It's an honor we have, a lot of young team members at our campuses, and they're young marrieds, and they're having their first kid, and it's an honor.
You said you deliver the babies?
Yeah, we deliver them.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into that.
Right.
I can teach you.
Are you guys like certified doulas or?
Yeah, certified doula. That's the one I was looking for earlier.
Specialized bathtub. It's an honor to do all those things. Yeah. It's an honor to say, hey, Pastor Ryan, would you officiate our wedding? And that's just the biggest joy. And those are the same people that you're leading with on the weekend, or that you're writing songs with for a project. And I think God really shows up and is felt really strong in a community like that. When you're, you're doing life alongside these people that you're also creating with and leading with, and it's a really blessed spot to be in. Yeah, for us.
I got to tell you guys a funny story. Like, I grew up mainly as a kid in a small Korean church. Like probably less than 100 people total. And then in high school, my parents let me go to an American church, but it was like multicultural because it was in California. And the first Sunday I went there was an executive pastor that got up and did announcements. Afterwards, I asked my friend that I went with, I was like, so is that like his full-time job, doing announcements on Sundays? Like, I had no concept of like associate pastors or executive pastors.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, when they look at like big churches that have multiple, staff, it's like, what do they actually do during the week? But
That's a good gig, man.
Yeah.
Making that much money for 3 announcements. That's great.
You gotta nail those announcements.
Yeah, so obviously you guys write songs, original songs, and worship songs for your church. What does your songwriting approach look like as a team?
Like I stated before, it's very collaborative. And if you look at this new album, Million Lifetimes, if you look down the track listing, I think there's only one song out of the 12 that was written by one person. So it's very important that it really is very important to me that everyone's voice is represented and gets a chance to speak.
Yeah.
And I believe that songwriting is relational. It's almost just as important as what the song's going to do when it gets released. It's just as important what's happening between the 2 writers or the 3 writers. The relational equity, the relational trust, the bond that's being built in those moments, I think is just as important. God uses those moments. And so we approach our team like family, just like we stated with, we're pastors first. So you'll see lots of names on those songs, and every name carries weight. No one's off in a room by themselves.
So do you guys like create times where you get together and write songs, or?
Yeah, I mean, the season that we were in leading up to when we were recording and writing for this album, which was, early last year, it was constant in the studio with our producer from 10 in the morning till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And it was just this house of creating, just writing around the clock. And it was joyful and grueling and costly and beautiful and anointed and hard, all of that.
I think
that's the way it has to be.
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things about Ryan too, and his approach wisdom is like there's never with my experience with him collaborating, there's never one blueprint or one rigid formula. There are times where he's like, I got this idea, let's collaborate. Or we'll walk into a room with him and whoever else, and he's like, tell me what God's doing in your life this season.
Yeah.
And then we expound on that, and then something comes from that.
Yeah.
So it's really fun that he has 3 or 4 different methods of pulling out what God is speaking.
Awesome. Yeah.
There's certain seasons where I would sit down and I would look at the church calendar. And there's certain years where we had this very detailed preaching calendar laid out the whole year of different sermon series and message topics. And I would sit down and say, we're going to write a song about that. We're going to write a song for that moment. And that was when we were really trying to connect our songwriting to the life of the church. We wanted them to feel really integrated. And that was the best way I could think of was take the calendar out and write for what's going on in your church. Yeah. And we saw a huge success, huge momentum with that.
Yeah, and that's a little harder when the pastor doesn't tell you what he's preaching until like
and
the
then
Friday
that's
before.
When you pray and white knuckle it. No.
So once you guys like write a few songs, do you guys have like a vetting process? Like, does your pastor have to approve all the songs? Like, what does that look like?
Good question. Yeah, he doesn't have to be the final say. I mean, for this past album, we got to a point where we had we whittled it down to about 30 demos, and he listened to those 30 songs, and he actually gave really clear feedback on every song, which ones he loved, which ones he didn't like. And it has to be tied to his heart. Again, from day one, it was in his heart to do this. Yeah. So he has to be in step and in sync with us the whole way. And it really helped. Yeah. It helped shape some of the songs we picked, some of the songs that didn't make it. I mean, we have a pretty clear and culture of critique amongst ourselves, where if a group of 3 writes a song, they're going to show it to 4 other people. And real quick, we're going to find out if it's going to work or not, just because we have that healthy culture critique.
So, like, before you put a song on the album, do you like make it a requirement that you have to lead it at church first to see how it goes? And
yeah, it's
always been a good gauge for us.
That's been a great gauge, especially because these last 2 albums that we've done we've been live albums. So there's a certain part where you know it has to work live. It has to connect with people, and so very much so. We would bring to the weekend, and then we would report back in the next day on the Monday.
Yeah.
Say, yeah, that really worked. Hey, the song worked except for this part. Maybe we should rewrite that part.
Yeah.
And we saw that happen about 3 or 4 times where a song had verse, chorus, bridge, and the verse and the chorus part were great. We realized, hey, we don't need that bridge actually. So we led the song a few times with the bridge, and by the time live recording came around, the bridge was nowhere to be found.
Oh, wow.
And it was the right choice.
That's cool. Awesome. So when you do that and you get, I guess you kind of gauge it by the response of your congregation, right?
Yeah.
Which is hard if your church isn't really responsive, like expressive, normally.
He's looking for eye blinks.
Yeah.
Right.
People not falling asleep on that song. So, like, do you guys have a pretty expressive congregation? And like, when you, because it's hard to introduce a new song, especially if your church isn't musical. So, like, how does that work in your church?
I mean, yeah, and I'll let Clinton, you can jump on this as well, but we have a very participatory worship culture. And, I guess that's the expectation. That's, again, it's part of our value as a church. And so really quickly, I mean, you can see if a song's going to work or not. And we're not quick to kill a song. We'll do it a few times.
Yeah.
But it's usually pretty obvious. It's never a question. Is the song working or not? I don't know what you've seen.
No, I would echo that. It's a weird dynamic, isn't it? Like I think about this kind of often about the gauge of a worship leader. You kind of measure it or gauge based off of the visible response of your audience, right?
Yeah.
No matter what your denomination is, sometimes we kind of gauge the measure of success, not just of a song, but you as a competent worship leader based off of how many people you got maybe to raise their hands or to sing out. But I would echo that sentiment from Ryan. Is we're very blessed that we have a culture of engaged worship, and that I mentioned how liturgical our region is. That hasn't been handed to us. We had to foster that over the years, and that was something that Ryan did before us. That a lot of us even came, and so some of us kind of inherited some of the liveliness, and then, but we still had to continue to cultivate that level of engagement in this culture of worship, and whether you like a song or not, like our number one value is the presence of God. So we're gonna rage, wisdom. We're gonna rage.
Yeah. So how long have you guys been each leading worship?
Well, let me tell you a story. No, I'm 33 now, and I've been leading worship since I was like 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wow.
Yeah, a vet.
Should be
right
way
here.
better than I am. What is wrong?
I've been at River Valley for 6 years. It's been a fun ride. I've been leading worship for, I don't know. It's funny. I guess I've been leading worship since college.
Cool.
Now, how long I've been paid to do that was how long have I been good at it?
So I want you to try to think back to all your moments of Sundays of leading worship, and try to remember the most embarrassing moment that you've ever had.
That was every week for me starting out, because my youth pastor talked me into leading worship when I thought I was too cool for school to sing out in front of anybody.
Yeah.
And he grabbed me and put me on the worship team, which you probably wouldn't do that these days, but I had my back turned to the audience.
Oh, wow.
It would start off in the front, and then I was so insecure, and eventually I would just continue to keep gravitating to the to like Earth's axis. Eventually I just my full back to the audience, and
wow.
And he'd be motioning to me like, turn around, turn around. I was like, no, I'm not, too scared. But I don't know. I feel like every week was embarrassing starting out, and the fact that he gave me an opportunity. But there've been plenty of times where like I mess up the words, make up a melody on my own or something like that.
And now you're like halfway towards the audience.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't get too embarrassed these days.
Yeah, my moment would be like, it was one of my first bigger events that I had led as a worship leader when I was in my 20s, and it was in this like Civic Center arena.
Oh, wow.
And it was my first time doing something that size. I was like 25. I was super pumped, and it was a conference over a few days, a youth conference, and probably 5,000 kids there. And everything went great the first night, but then the second session morning, we had a set list, and we decided to change it at the last minute. And I was like telling my drummer the change like about 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
He misread what I said. And the first song that we did was supposed to just start with acoustic guitar and like a vocal. And he totally misread what song I said we were changing, and he started the wrong click.
Oh.
And I'm in this song by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is totally wrong tempo. This is going to be a nightmare when everyone comes in.
Just hammering away.
And we just hammered away for about 4 minutes in the wrong tempo. I wish I could explain like the song, how it should be played and how it was played in front of all those people. But I was just like, I had like 5 mini heart attacks throughout the whole thing.
Wow.
It was really bad.
Is that on YouTube anywhere?
It could be. We'll post a link below. Give it a thumbs up.
That's awesome. So can you share with us where and when people can find your new album and your website and all that?
A Million Lifetimes is the name of the album. It comes out March 2nd, but this Friday, pre-order starts.
Cool.
And if you pre-order this Friday, you get our single that's out right now, World Needs Jesus, and our newest single. It's called All This Time. You get both those songs with the pre-order Friday. You can get it everywhere that music exists these days.
So that's January 26th is the pre-order.
Correct, yep.
Cool. And then do you guys want to share your Instagram usernames or anything? Twitter?
People don't need to
You
know
want
who
any
I am.
stalkers?
Oh, man. I think my handle on just about every social media presence I have is Clinton_Allen, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
And mine's just Rye Williams, just all the consonants.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
Took
just
the
have
vowels
fun
out.
picking those out. And
Yep.
Cool.
Find Ryan Williams.
on Instagram.
Take out all the vowels.
So you guys wanted to make sure that you share like your second core value, which is fashion sense, you said?
Praise God.
So I want to make sure we cover that before you guys go.
You know, when I was in Bible college, I took a course on aesthetic and appearance. And we learned that appearance is the most important thing.
Wow.
How your jeans fit you, what kind of decorative headwear you have on your head.
Yeah.
You have piercings,
Oh, man.
And there's like scriptural reference.
There's all of that,
Absolutely. Steeped in theology.
Bezekai 7. That's my favorite, book of the Bible, by the way, is Bezekai. So, Bezekiah.
Hezekiah Walker.
Donnie McClurkin.
Yes.
Donnie McClurkin,
Those
chapter
are great
4.
books of the Bible.
Wow. Great.
That was a weird road.
Well, thank you for everything you've shared, from the embarrassing moments to the fashion tips and all of that. So I love your new album, and there's some great songs for congregations. So
that's encouraging.
Yeah, I want to just encourage our listeners to check it out. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. It was an honor, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to We Are Worship. We would love to hear from you. You can email us your comments to hello@weareworshipusa.com. And don't forget to visit us online at weareworship.com for more resources and links to connect with us on your favorite social media platforms.